in a convention where not a ton of big headlines are being made, Warner Brothers took the opportunity to make a doozy. And that is the big news of that they are going to keep their 2015 date that they reserved to go head-to-head with the Avengers and possibly a Star Wars movie. But not with Justice League. They said today they're going to go forward with a Batman-Superman World's Finest team-up film. And so, I'm really working hard to get up a lot of San Diego Comic-Con content, but a lot of you have requested that, I'm happy that you want to hear my thoughts on this. So I'm making this kind of, semi-quality video, technically, in my hotel room. So please forgive me any technical difficulties. This is like a new laptop, and I'm not used to making this kind of video on here. So my thoughts on Superman Batman. They're mixed. I definitely feel if you have to go between a Justice League film or a World's Finest film, and actually it's funny, one of the BTT viewers who came up today, or Think About the Ink viewers who came up today to visit me at the Boom Studios booth, asked me this very question. They said, don't you think they should go with World's Finest first? And I was like, yeah, I totally agree. And lo and behold, they are going with World's Finest first. So yeah, definitely, if you're going to go with a team movie, you got to go with World's Finest. I think a lot of the other Justice League characters are a hard sell. I think it's too big a cast. And, who doesn't enjoy, it's just easier team up. And I think it's a team up that mainstream audiences can better understand. Okay, so that's the positive, where I feel if you're going to go with the team up, that's the right direction. What are my concerns? First of all, I'm very disheartened to hear that it's the same creative team of Snyder, and I believe they said Goyer is going to be writing it. As I've pointed out numerous times, even Christopher Nolan booted Goyer off of scripting duties for the last two Dark Knight films. He had Goyer work only on story, which is what I think Goyer is where he's best suited. And then Christopher Nolan and his brother Jonathan wrote the actual screenplays. And I feel Goyer just not a great screenwriter. I think his structure is good. He's an idea man. And it's disappointing they would continue with Snyder and Goyer, particularly when they obviously don't have enough faith in the Man of Steel franchise as is to just continue with it solo and to try and build that mythology first. I mean, because that's what that says to me. That's the biggest... When I first heard this news, that was my biggest surprise. I felt that Warner Brothers was basically saying, we don't have faith in Man of Steel as a franchise. We don't want to give him the chance to grow. And they made this big thing when the Man of Steel movie came out. They said, oh, Superman is the zero character, and we're going to build everything off of him. He's our foundation. Well, you know what, guys? Your foundation hasn't set yet. I still think your foundation has a lot of cracks in it. It has some areas that need to be redone. But instead, you're just going to build over it. And this is a big topic of conversation here at Comic-Con. And I was talking to my artist Russell Dodderman on Superbia, that book we do for Boom Studios, and we were also talking about it because that guy had brought it up. And he made a good point, and he said, you know what? Marvel took the time. Marvel did the time. From Iron Man 1, they went all the way through and introduced these other characters in solo movies before they did the Avengers. And I think that Warner Brothers, they're looking too much in their rearview mirror. I think some good advice I got in life is, from my mom, is that you should always, it's good to know what other people are doing. You always should know what's going on. Don't stick your head in the ground like an ostrich, but don't let it influence you entirely in how you're running your own race. And I think that, DC's playing DC and Warner Brothers are playing a very short game here, a very short-sighted game. They want to get into that Avengers arena, but they're not taking the time to build a franchise they can give for years and years. I mean, look what Marvel's accomplished. Even though people have serious problems with Iron Man 3, you have not only the Avengers films, but you have the solo films, which themselves are getting sequels. So I think that if Warner Brothers took the time to do this properly, and I think took one more Man of Steel movie, at least one more. It would be nice to maybe have a trilogy, or maybe that would take too long. But just one more Man of Steel movie to kind of shore things up, get rid of any concerns some audience members might have, because the reaction to Man of Steel has been mixed. And this to me just says that Warner Brothers says, you know what, people just like Batman, that's our strongest property, let's bring him back in, get him off the bench. And also, I feel introducing Batman in a duo film, a new Batman, in a film where he's not the sole focus, is also going to be tough. But I mean, maybe audiences will be more forgiving. I don't know. I mean, of course everyone's going to see this. I'm going to see it. It's not like it's like a secondary character. I mean, I skipped Green Lantern, but I don't see how I could skip a Batman Superman film. But the question is, how many times will I see it? That's what makes these. That's why these other movies get over $1 billion. That's from multiple viewing. That's from people who don't usually go to the movies deciding to buy a ticket. It's not the core fan base. The core fan base is sold. and you need more than that to reach that $1 billion mark. That's why it's becoming it's becoming less of a bigger deal, but it's why it's still a big deal. So those are my thoughts. I still feel that Warner Brothers is, not a house in order. I've been detailing all the creative problems behind the scenes here on Beyond the Trailer, and I, that's why it's big news, but I feel it's like it's particularly exciting news. It's like, okay, and that's the problem. I think not a lot of excitement is generated out of the, I think, because they're not just totally doing it right. I don't think we have that feeling. So I don't know. What do you guys think? Are you super excited about this? Do you wish you had a little more time just with Man of Steel? Do you think Warner Brothers is making the right decisions? And considering people being upset about some of the elements of Iron Man 3 with the Mandarin, considering the Man of Steel wasn't universally loved, that it's so contentious, and how people feel about it. Are comic book movies heading for their first rough period, their first rocky patch after doing so well? We'll have to see. So, all right, I'm going to get back to the San Diego Comic-Con videos. I just want to share my initial thoughts. I feel kind of bad for Henry Cavill because, as I said, I liked the work he was doing, and I wish that I wish Warner Brothers had a little more faith in it because, interestingly, I have more faith in Henry Cavill. I have more faith in Henry Cavill than I do in Snyder and Goyer, and they're backing the wrong people in my decision while really shortchanging Cavill by making him have to share the screen with another character before he's really had a chance to set his. So anyway, I could go on forever about this. And I'm sure we will continue to talk about this a lot, all the way through to 2015 and beyond, because there's just so much money here. So, all right, check out the other Comic-Con videos. Thanks for everybody who asked again to hear my thoughts on this. I appreciate it. Okay, bye.